Which is just so, for the sake of argument then, let's say, so that if the goal is to keep Summerfield looking rural and also trying to keep it rural, right? Where if things don't get developed, then it stays rural, right? On the other hand, if you have families who own a farm and they want to pass down, I forget if it was Beth or Priscilla that had this concept that if they wanted to pass on to their children, we ideally don't want to be constraining existing landholders, you know, from being able to develop their property without undue cost. But we, in general, would be trying to, how do I phrase this? Not trying to encourage new developers to come in, buy land, and put in cheap developments, right? So why not? Why have that differentiation between minor and major if the goal is to constrain development and keep rural?
So you're saying have it underground for anyone who builds?
Anyone who has to ask for rezoning, because that's what triggers it, right?
It's rare where rezoning is necessary for anything less than 5 lots.
Yeah.
Our
Well, we have one
ag
last year.
district allows up to that many lots, or even,
It would be a minor subdivision.
yeah, that's what I was saying, consistent with subdivision regulations. And this isn't, anything less than 5 lots isn't going to be a developer unless it's very, very large estate lots developing together. It's just more likely.
And then they're more likely to be buried anyway.
And they have 80 foot.
Is there any commentary on what Jason was saying?
I guess I see where Jason's going. Do we want to differentiate in this case, whether it's 10 lots or 5 lots or 2 lots, does it matter for underground power?
But you also, the trigger of rezoning is the key thing.
Well, I wouldn't want to add cost burden to, you know, existing homes, but people who are coming in who, we're trying to instill this rural setting throughout in as much as we can, and the undergrounding is a key factor there, right? The power lines all up and down are not pastoral.
Yeah, I mean, in
They're
the,
rural, but they're not,
in the
not
interest
the look we want.
of keeping
right?
things
Well, maybe
rural,
I'm
you're
wrong.
right. I mean, in the interest of that, yeah, you're right. I mean, the plainer the better, the less.
It's a cost of development.
But that, yeah, it definitely comes down to
Yeah,
that.
so the rule would be on the books, someone who's looking at buying a parcel that divides into 5 acres, they just have to build that into their.
If there's some reason why not, they can always ask for
But, okay, but
variance.
Make it strict and ask for a variance, or make it lenient and then regret it.
But so if it was one farmhouse, say, that had, walk me through this one real quick, how would you look at this one then? So if you got 50 acres and I'm gonna cut you off 5 acres in the corner of my property, and so that's a subdivision of 1 that's gonna come through, would you then make me that, and I'm just gonna build 1 single family house on that 5 acres, would you then make me drop the lines for coming past one?
I think as a practical matter, Duke Power would do that. If you look on 150 past Strawberry Road, between Strawberry Road and Lake Grant Road, there are 3 or 4 large houses that have been built on the right in there, and they're all front on, the driveway's front on 150, and they're pulling the lines off of 150, which is above ground, but they're all coming in underground.
Yeah.
So it's a single service line for each home.
Pull
Kind
to
of
a certain
that
point.
French-
They didn't pull all the way to my house.
There's one French
area.
avenue.
Well, you're about 2
Where are
miles
they?
back.
Depends on the footage.
Yeah.
They're
Three
My
quarters.
mother's house was a single family home and it was
I see what you're
off
saying.
of the main road and they buried that cable.
Just
One
without
person
asking, they
subdivision
just.
costs.
They'll bury
They
to a
want
certain
to
point.
bury it.
They want to bury it
They
to a
want
certain,
to.
to a certain point, and then you gotta pay.
Nobody wants
pay
a
for
home in
it.
their front yard.
Yeah.
Property
So
owner
it's
pay for it.
Are there any, is
But
there
I'm
any,
gonna have to pay for the rest of it, yeah.
Is it
any further comment or any suggestion about this issue of whether to exempt small-scale development or minor subdivisions from the general requirement for
So the
underground?
comp plan doesn't say
Well, the only thing it says is that there could be exceptions or exempted. Some may be exempted because there's only overhead utilities are the norm
Right.
in that area.
Oh, no.
But in that case, they could always ask for a variance.
Yeah, so we just say all's underground, and then you have a modification process. If they can prove undue costs for some reason,
The
then
Board of Adjustment,
they can go to the Board of Adjustment. All underground.
not mine.
Well, we'd have to decide if it were a variance or a waiver, if there were some condition requiring a variance, or if it were just
Would you apply that to individuals as well as the small scale subdivisions?
Yeah, anybody can apply
Yeah,
for
I
it.
think it should be.
Yeah.
My daughter just built a new house on Strader Road, on 12.5 acres, and dropped it.
That's right.
And they took the whole cost, no problem? All right, boom, then we just make it a policy and so maybe Duke will do it for us.
So we just get rid of the exempt
Yeah, you're,
portion
well,
of
how
this?
far are you off?
Yeah, so all, yeah, basically just, yeah,
Well,
just
that's-
get rid of
That's
it.
really cable.
There's no,
Yeah.
it shall all be underground. Boom.
How do we just get rid of this?
Let's re-review the language that Carrie drafted, exempt individual or small scale lots.
But wasn't,
John's property is.
It's right across.
The street from Jack's. Okay.
I thought I read in the UDO draft that there was the one, that the
Sorry?
stuff on page 137 was much more comprehensive, more strict.
It never came, that never came before the zoning board.
And that the stuff on 713, section E was kind of vague. So it seems to me that going for just undergrounding is the right path, but it seems like we should adopt one piece or the other.
But 10C, it says, all utilities shall be installed underground except where extreme conditions of topography make this equipment unreasonable, where a subdivision consists of all oversized lots and deed restrictions or zoning prevent further subdivisions. Subdivision may submit to the planning board for consideration of above-ground utility services under extreme conditions.
Right, I think we should adopt that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, so there's consistency.
Yeah.
No, but there's another one on 7-13 that's, it's different. Where was it?
7-13.
It's actually 7-14. 3.
Underground utilities. Underground
I guess
unless there are
it's-
physical restraints.
You just pick one or the other. They're both strong enough, I guess.
I hear a call for
think they're
consistency within the UDO, and then to have it be as strong as what Andrew was just, I think you said 10C.
Yeah, 10C on page 137 seems to align with me to the comprehensive plan.
Right.
And then 10, or on page 714, 3 is just a shorter version of that.
But it doesn't it say
Physical restraints.
unless there are physical constraints? It seems to be a bigger loophole.
You're probably looking at the general development standards versus the subdivision ordinance, correct?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
the
they both need to
subdivisions
be
is
in there?
second,
Section 6 or section 7?
section 7.
Section 7.
Okay? And in a later recommendation about extreme conditions or topography, the recommendation is to establish criteria for what that really means in practice. And that looks like it's consistent with the UDO and the language that Andrew just read is providing for that. But this would define more clearly what the criteria are.
Yeah, so we got
Okay.
that, and that bullets of extreme.
Any more commentary on 8.3, underground utilities? On the wireless towers and wireless service, 8.4. First recommendation would prohibit cell tower, call for prohibiting cell tower and lots from directly accessing public roadways. So they would need to follow that language, they would need to have access from a side street or
Or an easement within.
an easement.
So that's kind of like the corner of Horsepen Creek and 220.
Yeah.
Right at that CVS, there's a huge tower right at the corner.
Isn't that attractive?
We won't have that at the corner of 150 and 73.
Of course, that's where the road used to go.
Not
years ago.
necessarily,
That was right away before.
yeah, and that site is accessed through that new CVS. That's how they get to that tower. And so, yeah,
They have
it's
boxes
like,
in the back too.
huh?
Oh, yeah, through the parking lot.
Yeah, no, there's a route, that they have back to it, and an easement through the site to that tower, and so that's how they get there. And so when these cell towers come in, they'll lease a bit of property from the owner, and the owner's primary entrance is how they need to get back to their tower locations, is what that's saying basically.
Not at their own driveway.
Right, so you don't get your own little cut over here and then you can turn into your tower whenever you want to from the public right away over here. You go through the primary lot, and you go back, and then you have a route built off of their parking lot somewhere to your tower, and that's how you get to it.
When was the last one built in Summerfield?
A long time
Has
ago.
there even, not in the last 5, or is it
One off
not
of,
even maybe?
One off of Summerfield Road is the last one I remember. You can see it from Summerfield Road and from Pleasant Ridge.
And I
Nice to
think
be
a
disguised.
Town, in the town park.
Okay, this is
No.
this is the part that would help
South
with
of
all of
town.
this.
Carrie, you mentioned you're gonna rewrite the whole thing, what's the thoughts, what do you, I mean, these suggestions are helpful, but are you
Yeah.
gonna suggest some all new wording here? And
Yeah,
would
actually.
you like us to take a look at it?
If you'd like to, but what I did this in Jamestown. We hired I didn't hire actually, a consulting firm agreed to write the ordinance. They agreed to, and the ordinance requires they review every plan, and the fees for that review are paid to them. That's how they made the money on writing us an ordinance. And it's very strict, it's very robust. It addresses future telecommunication needs as well as current. It's aware of those needs. It's acutely aware of federal regulation and allowances to allow us to prohibit towers as much as we can under the law.
Or do you want us to look at that? I mean, we look like a really smart committee if we propose
If
all
you want-
these
if you want
specific
to.
things about communications.
I don't, the zoning board will certainly have to look at it. And I,
Is that inside the UDO or outside the UDO?
it would be inside the UDO.
It's in the UDO.
Yeah, it would
It's
be a
right on page
section.
There's a
127.
whole section in the UDO about it.
It would replace that whole
The
section,
one at section 104,
which is very small.
wireless, it's 2 pages.
Yeah, all it is development
Why are
standards.
commercial
right?
wireless providers exempt?
Pardon?
Why would we recommend
Oh.
here that they're exempt?
That was a question that you
It's
had.
4 pages.
I don't know if I was able to answer
If
that.
you want a longer one.
Anyway, I just think
Okay,
we spent a lot of
yeah.
time working on this or talking about it, but if you've got all new proposals to make, a new ordinance around this, we might as well take a look at it.
It's a waste for us to do. We could
Sure.
just
I mean, I don't, it's up to you, the committee, I mean,
Yeah, let's rock and roll, let's look at it.
Just send it to us and we'll look at it next time.
We shouldn't
It'll be-
abdicate our
it'll be-
responsibility.
Is it written?
I mean, if
No,
we're close,
no,
if you're
wait.
close to making recommendations to Amy, then let's look at
I
it.
first
and-
have to get, this is another, this is more than just me saying that I want to do this and institute this fee structure and everything. This is,
A lot more than
committee
that.
work will be done likely by the time this is written, but I'm happy to bring you back together. Or
Your
send it
rec-
to individual committee members.
But your recommendation, as drafted here, calls for replacing what's in the UDO draft in front of you
which Carrie says they're gonna replace anyway. So
She wants
you
it.
might as well look at what she wants to replace it with. We'll get that to the zoning board.
She said it probably won't.
Is that likely by mid-March?
No, it wouldn't be.
So you may have completed your work by
I
the
have
time.
completed the work before something like this is done.
I think we should at least, I think some of these recommendations that are in here, especially Priscilla's, should require stealth design for all towers is something that the committee should
Is that in the
put in a
new
recommendation.
ordinance?
It is in the one that I have written for Jamestown.
I would too.
So I have a question. Where's
I
the,
don't have a vote.
where's the discrepancy between the comprehensive plan and what is currently in this UDO? Because it seems like it's addressing everything that is written in 7, or in 8.4.
I didn't
I can
think
tell
it
you that
was.
it doesn't
No.
because this industry is very clever.
Okay, so similar to what we've done in other policy areas, we are saying it needs to be more robust and more restrictive.
It doesn't
Right.
address
Yeah.
rooftop towers really, it doesn't address a lot of.
What about water?
That's a good point.
I mean, there's a lot of it about this industry that it isn't addressing.
Yeah, they'll put an antenna just about anywhere.
I guess I'm
What's
not
that?
seeing that in the comprehensive plan because I don't know any better.
You got that right.
With that as revised language, are there any further comments on that or
I'm saying if possible, as far as a regulatory standpoint, I really don't know if that's in there because of the law.
we ready to move beyond the 8.4 cell towers?
So we're sticking with those requirements,
There's
those recommendations?
We probably have to for right now.
Yes,
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
have anything else.
right. But if Carrie wants us to look at the one that she's proposing, that's the point. If she wants to send them around, to us, we're happy to look at
Well,
them.
they comply with these.
You can send a different.
Well, see how the ones that you're proposing fit the comp plan.
Well, I think what we would propose is, you know, the best that we can have everywhere and limit it to certain areas and like the ones with the trees and, you know, do as much as we can to protect the town visually, would be, I think, what we would propose regardless.
I think I know
So-
what we want as far as.
Right.
I mean, we would outlaw anything that changes anything visually if we could.
Well, and that's becoming more and more viable anyway,
Yeah.
with new spectrum opening up and.
You
new
can
satellite
require
towers.
that you only can put a tower on an existing tower, you can require that you can only put a tower on an existing structure if it's an industrial structure. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, and I think the goal really is, we don't want to see cell towers.
But we do want coverage.
Yeah.
One good
What's the
cell.
benefits of a cell tower? We just don't want them in our town. We're a bunch of NIMBYs.
Practice.
And let's stop the airplanes from flying over too. All right.
We do want.
Be away from it for a while.
I'm okay. Did you put that in?
Moving on to 8.5.
That you cannot get.
This is about design standards.
And this cannot get
Development and
it.
redevelopment.
Second floor of the house together. Absolutely.
This recommendation calls for establishing policies for strict enforcement of non-conforming structures.
And those policies would include all of these comments, that's always the case.
Okay.
And that might be through, more often, review. It might be that you're telling me I have to go out and look for non-conforming structures. It might be, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And this was all about development, so that was just an explanation.
Not existing.
Correct. This section that this was referring to.
Okay. Are we ready to move on to 8.6? And that's the attractive major travel corridors and entry corridors. And this first recommendation is to strengthen language for non-conforming structures within those travel corridors to include stricter standards for bringing them into compliance.
What's the example of that? I think I know what it is, but just curious.
Let me go back to the, make sure. It would be, yeah, it would be having a, minimum building standard requirement for commercial properties on the scenic corridor. Like,
Would it apply, I think what I'm reading there is that it's, or what I'm hearing there is it would apply, you'd want to apply that to existing.
the old food line, yeah.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. We don't have an adequate, it's called adequate facilities.
Mhm.
And the one that we did before was not just a commercial adequate facilities. I think that we could consider a adequate facilities ordinance for commercial properties and not have as much difficulty with
Yeah.
the support.
I know
It's
I'd
very,
appreciate more teeth or something, so that we can.
but it didn't pass before because it applied to all land use types. I think that might have been what happened to these kinds of attempts in the past.
This is what should the ordinance provide for older properties that were developed before this ordinance, when the standards have been strengthened? And to what degree there can be any push to get them to become conforming.
Yep.
I don't think you could do that unless it was remodeling involved. Like if there was a change in the outside or the upgrade or whatever to the facility, that's when you could put those in.
So it would be, if there were something that required a permit,
That's definitely an opportunity.
then
I don't know how you could do
this-
somebody's place just because you don't like the way it looks.
No, but I think what this refers to, let's say you're a store and you want to get a permit for an outdoor sales area. That's when you have to get the permit, that's when this will happen.
Right.
And while you're at it, you have to redo your facade.
Well, and there's
Your
thresholds.
parking lot, if you're.
There's thresholds that say if you're already spending over half the worth of your building, you've got to bring it all into compliance.
So we had the example of the brick store.
Yes.
Where they wanted to make some alterations and build a building, and they're not currently in compliance with their current zoning, and so we would not approve the addition
Yep.
until they brought it into compliance.
And they've asked for another type of indoor permit that we also know.
Where is this?
The brick store.
Well,
It's the brick store.
nobody
The old
knows
brick
it as the
store.
brick store anymore. It
Well,
comes from
it's
southern
Hillsdale
states.
Brick store,
Yeah.
corner
Well, I know it is a brick store.
Big Brand and
The Hillsdale Brick Stores.
Southern Exposure.
Southern
Exposure.
Exposure. That is an historic building called the Hillsdale Brick Store, and that little intersection is called Hillsdale.
Is there any further comment on that
Sorry.
recommendation? Again, there's another strengthened language for commercial properties, including requirements for both permanent and temporary outdoor sales, display and storage areas, and prohibit uses whose prohibit uses whose appearance cannot be.
What word do I need there? That we approve, prohibit uses that are, they don't have.
Say if,
I can say,
Where parents cannot be, where there's supposed to approve for right now, for your hoops.
Yes.
in case.
Here's the grammarian, right?
Where they're for right now.
The grammarian.
What's an example of that then?
junkyard, although that's out anyway.
Yeah, we felt like that.
What about that one?
We're getting to that now.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Storage, storage facilities?
Every time.
How
How about a storage facility with outdoor U-Haul storage on the scenic corridor where you can see the U-Hauls?
No, thank you.
No RVs, no RV lots.
No.
That one might be one that you
No
could
trailer
allow
sale.
by screening
No,
the,
you know,
I mean, I think we
trailer.
could allow those by screening the U-Hauls, but,
Used car lots for the budget. with different
We
amounts.
have some of that in the storage screening requirements we
Yeah.
talked about
Yeah.
before. So you would consider those U-Hauls as storage of,
outdoor storage and they'd have to be screened. Appearances cannot be improved. I don't know.
and so, just real quick, well, jumping back to that non-compliant, so you were saying that you have the thresholds put in place so that somebody comes in and they own a very large development and they just want to install an ADA bathroom or something somewhere, you're not gonna hit them necessarily for everything. Okay. Just making sure.
Right, yeah, correct, yeah.
Cool.
And ours follow the county standards right now,
I know you would.
but
You
and
need
the
to-
strengthening of language could mean looking at other ordinances and seeing if those thresholds could be lower, higher, and why.
Yeah.
So you're saying like if Gastown wanted to do U-Hauls, they would not be able to?
They could do U-Hauls if they screen them from view, completely screen them from view of the highway. Even though they're existing, and they would only have to screen the U-Hauls, they wouldn't have to screen the stuff that they've had before from forever. Unless they were replacing those bins, or those, whatever isn't screened, if they were replacing that, they have to build it new with screening.
Or they can hide them behind a pile of mulch.
The mulch thing behind, park them in the mulch pits.
Mulch
No,
road.
it's two different properties.
Okay, moving, ready to move on to the next. Let's see, this one, strengthen regulations for scenic corridors to include prohibition of outdoor sales, display, storage. And the
So-
question here for committee discussion, even though Carrie didn't say it, should this be applied to all major travel corridors or just the scenic corridors?
What's wrong with outdoor sales? This is the question.
Outdoor storage?
Outdoor
There's
sales, I mean,
So-
farmer's market, spot,
You can-
Everything that's
So do we want to say
like the used
prohibition
cars are
or-
also for
The
sale.
garden store, we were talking about the gas town, that's outdoor sales.
during, especially during Christmas season.
Well, there was that pop-up right there on 220, of that greenery next to the gas station,
Yeah.
so that would prohibit that, right?
Certain connections to the outdoor.
I think this UDO does have a prohibition against outdoor storage, sales and display, and so I just,
I mean, is that like the taco truck? I mean, there's a lot of outdoor sales here. I mean, we've got little pop-ups under the pages to do a little farm stand. There's one on Summerfield Road where you pay your money and get your tomatoes. I mean, that would prohibit a lot.
Strawberry road.
Where'd the taco truck go?
It's gone.
Summerfield Farms.
Summerfield Farms purchased that truck. And it's now, actually, then it broke down, and they're deciding whether to, they're deciding whether to, I keep asking, because I really like it.
So like the Shell or the Exxon station, I guess, they can allow food trucks there currently?
Currently, the ordinance doesn't address it.
Well, there was like.
So we have allowed it. Popular demand wanted to have food trucks there.
Right.
Do you want to combine all of these comments with the
We want
comment
small
above that just
business.
says strengthen the language?
Sure.
With requirements
They were great.
instead of prohibiting? Good. These all go up here.
Okay,
So the thing I would say is I like maybe non-traditional businesses, maybe more than some people do, but I like people who are creative, coming up with ways to like, provide a service or a good.
I mean, that's like the coffee. I mean, would that be considered outdoor sales, or I mean, is he like actually zoned for that whole building?
But it's on wheels though.
He is, there was discussion about instilling some standards that require things like landscaping or even planters, maybe, well, the sign ordinances would apply the
He
same.
did put a point.
With burlap,
One on, I think,
I know, that was my suggestion too when we first got there. So we wanna write some ordinance that requires things that will soften that look.
And I like non-traditional too, but I just
Without
think you
getting
have
rid of
to,
the eclectic.
I think you have to be careful in what you allow, because then you
Yeah.
can't turn around then and say, you don't want this person because they aren't fitting into what you think is acceptable.
He looks better than the rest of that whole parking lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, what if someone wanted to bring a farmer's market on Saturday and Sunday to that parking lot? We would say no. I mean, that's-
Right, so we would, if that's the case, then the CODIS would have to come to me with a site plan revision that says this area is now assigned to farmer's market, and I make sure that the parking requirement was still met for all the other businesses that are in business that day.
Are there any in business other than jumping?
And,
Or college
and I
involved?
we might say that it has to start, can only start at this point because cars have to get to it. Perhaps it should have some kind of enclosure. I mean, there would be standards for
Yeah,
the appearance of that market,
I think
the
there,
outside perimeter of it.
yeah, I think there should be some kind of permitting or some kind of
Yeah.
review process for that.
There
Because
is.
it's just like you're saying, John, great, it's popular. But the thing about certain things, you can pop them up anywhere, and if it's popular, then all of a sudden you got all these people coming to it, it's underparked, people are parking on the side of 220 just to get to it. And then it becomes a safety issue, and that's what we don't want. So there should be
Right.
some kind of review,
Yeah.
some kind of
Permitting.
control where we
Makes
say,
I thought we had said before exclude or
yeah.
don't
We changed
allow.
it, yeah, we got rid of that
The
language
permitting makes sense.
and put it
It's kind of
in.
like the Christmas thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
rather
that's
than
manageable.
prohibiting, it
Permitting
strengthens
approved.
language for regulating them, both the visual appearance, and that will practically happen at the time of permitting or zoning.
And I had once written such a thing, and it talked about planters, it talked about tent, it addressed pop-up canopies and how they could be torn up, and, I mean, there were a lot of, all those details were addressed.
That's
So I
good.
don't think we're gonna be able to finish
No.
8 tonight because we still have,
Pretty far.
we're at 8:06. We still have 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 to go. So I would recommend that we stop here.
Let's see what was in each, just, okay, this is about flea markets, and Carrie, you're gonna research that.
I'm not sure why the amount was, why that threshold, yeah. I just didn't have time to look
Okay,
at
yeah,
it.
but you'll bring something back.
Correct.
So
So do you think we can motor through? Because we only have one public comment.
8.6, or?
Well, we only have one public
That's
comment,
right.
so
Try to get through.
do we want to try and get through 8?
sure, go for it.
There's
It's
only
not that much more.